Hello and welcome. I'm Aziel, and so today I want to talk about skirmish games. I love a good skirmish game. Judge Dredd, Wild West Exodus, Conquest: The First Blood, and of course we have Dead Zone from Mantic. Oh, and Kill Team. So I was just trying to do a bit of inward thinking, like trying to consider why skirmish games tend to be my go-to, why I am so drawn to this specific type of game. Now, I've stated before that I am in fact autistic. I have ADHD. So I wonder whether or not that's connected, because I do like building models. Painting not so much, but building, I can just sit there all day just putting them together. I enjoy it no end. And a lot of skirmish games, unfortunately, don't tend to have that. Conquest and Kill Team and Dead Zone tend to be the ones that do, in fact, have a lot of building involved. And with Conquest: The First Blood, you even have some bigger monsters which you can use in your game. Of course, with Wild West Exodus, you can do the same. And this is all fun and cool, big monsters in a small game is always pretty fun to do. Especially if you're into narrative gaming like myself. I mean, there's a lot of fun to do, a small gang versus a small gang, or having OP models such as Judge Dredd and Legendary Walks Looking, these really powerful single models, which are fantastic models. They look fun, they're fun to paint, even for me, and, they're kind of cool. And with Wildest Exodus and Conquest, you do have the larger models such as the Great Eagle, and you could do a nice battle where you could have a warband versus this one big monster. And that's cool. That's something that's really enjoyable. I do apologize. That was my tablet. I'll just put that on silent. So why am I drawn to this so much? And my conclusion is because of my ADHD, I do tend to find it hard to focus on a large army. And when I do a large army, such as for 40k, I did an Imperium army. Now, I know what that sounds. That sounds a bit silly, really, but to me, it allowed me to make lots of little armies and have it under one big banner under the Imperium. It's also why I've done Chaos a lot in the past. The same reason. I can do Plague Marines, I can do Death Guard, World Eaters, Emperor's Children, A Thousand Suns, add demons to it. I'd have a nice army, and I've said before, this is why I've always liked the Eldari. Just the versatility and the choice of models is really cool. However, a lot of armies aren't that way. They're very much much of a muchness. This isn't a bad thing because, of course, there's uniformity in an army. There has to be. Models have to look the same. So not only do they have the same stats, and you can see what they can do from looking at them, but they also look like they're all under the same banner as well. Now, I mean, if you're doing Imperial Fist, I don't know why you would, unless you're doing the 405th Company in Horus Heresy, who later on become the Crimson Fists. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. You've got to do them all looking the same color scheme, etc. And whereas with skirmish games, that's not so much of a problem, because each model is in fact its own individual unit, so you can diversify, I should say. My brain is deciding to fart right then, and then you can diversify the color scheme, giving each model their own unique look. I've said before, Judge Dredd does this well, especially with the gangers. You can paint them any color you want. I have 8 gangers, and I haven't repeated a color scheme on them once. Like, they're all different colors. So you can add this, and you can sort of give a lot of these models character, and you can focus on them. You can pretty much focus on each one individually as a single unit, which again is. So there's that aspect. Also, it means I don't have to build this big army. I don't ever feel sort of I have to do this large army. I don't have to paint like 50 miniatures or anything like that. I can buy a single box, such as the Tribal Retribution Posse, which is sold out now, unfortunately. So let's choose one that's actually out. The one I've got coming, the Showboat Posse, which has Wild Bill Hickok in it. And that's it. That's all I have to do for that army, that faction. I got my Lawman faction sorted with the single box. So once I've done that, I can move on to another faction and with another box. So I can constantly change my army and not worry too much about having to collect a massive force at the same time. And the problem is, and I know like I said, I've got ADHD. I can get bored. I can get really bored with a large faction very easily. I find it tedious to paint a massive, large amount of models and all the same color. Whereas with the skirmish game, I don't have that issue anymore. I don't have to worry about having to paint them any other style than what each model is, because they're all, again, basically different units. There are some exceptions, such as the Warriors and Braves for the Warrior Nation, and the Tesla bots for Wild West Exodus. But on the whole, and as a major part, because I'm not having to paint lots and lots the same, and therefore getting bored constantly, and trying to figure out what I want to do next, and just going, oh god, I've got to paint another X amount of, let's think, halflings for Kings of War. That's a good example. I can just go, look, I'm painting with one miniature, that's going to be this one part of this faction, and that's it, done. And then I can move on to the next one and have them look different as well. A good example of this is the Wrath of the Nautilus posse for, again, Wild West Exodus. Each model is very different, and I painted them all very different. So that's one reason I think I do tend to go towards skirmish games, because I'm not so anchored to a single color scheme. I can paint it in various color schemes because it's a small unit. Each model is a unit. And then, of course, like I said, you can just move to a different faction once you've done another one. Again, this appeals to me because, like I've said before, and one thing I really do enjoy is a nice variety of models. I don't like having the same models over and over again. I like choice. I like difference. It's something I really like. And skirmish games do this as well. Even if you're playing Judge Dredd and you're doing judges, you're not really repeating the same model, even though, helmeted judges all look the same. There are still there's a lot of little differences that make each judge different. Like Judge Anderson, I should say, is unhelmeted. He's got blonde hair. You got more detail to do there. Where Judge Dredd always has his helmet on, and there are these small touches, again, making each model within the faction slightly different because they are sort of, in a pseudo way, is their own unit. And this is why I really like skirmish games. It's just the choice of models, and I can change faction without having to worry about, what size my army's going to be, what size my faction's going to be. It's not going to be a worry. It's a single box. That's all I need to get, and that does me fine. And I can move on straight away. The choice of good skirmish games, and I've got to say, Games Workshop did this pretty well with Kill Team, is each model looks different too. You don't have two of the same models. You have lots of variation within the models, and so you don't have two models looking the same either. They're all going to be looking very different. Again, something I really, really like. There is the exception of Dead Zone and First Blood, because First Blood, of course, uses the last argument King's models as well. You're going to have lots of uniformity, but that's their storyline. That's what they do. So with some games, I can let it off because I'm not painting a lot of them as well. That's the other thing. There's not a lot of models needing painting. It's just up to around 10, 15 maximum for it. And again, it's just this means I can move on again. I'm not going to be tied down to having to paint some. Do the one part I really don't like so many times, and I know why I don't like doing it. It's a me thing. It's not saying that painting's a bad thing. It's just something I don't particularly enjoy doing. So that's why I prefer skirmish games. I think because of my ADHD and how I can lose concentration on a faction so quickly, a skirmish game keeps me interested in the game because I'm always painting something different. I'm always building something different. I'm always doing something different every time I buy a new box for it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it interesting. And I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great have a great day, and I'll see you soon. And I hope you're all doing well. And if you wish to save money on your wargaming, there is a course for Wayland Games down below with up to 20% off, free delivery up to £20, and there is the point system if you wish to save even more money. There is also Forbidden Planet for comics, CDs, mangas, my merchandise and comics. Those two links are down below, especially if you want to see Little Red Riding Hood go ham on some Craftian werewolves, cyborg werewolves. I'm sorry, that's the best description that I can give my characters. And there's Skyforge, good friend of mine, and finally, Patreon, because business. Bye bye.